anybody had a chance to use the restroom earlier, but I did. And one of the things I thought was interesting is that they actually have little ledges where they hold the toilet paper, and it says, "Envision green by design," and it posts the recycled content of the toilet paper, which I think is really interesting, because one of the things I've always been interested is, instead of incorporating all of these strategies that we're also familiar with into our daily lives, let's continue to promote what these ideas are. Let's continue to promote the education of what's happening. And I just thought this was brilliant. So anyhow, I just wanted to say that. So John, thank you for the introduction. I am Laura Dormer. I'm with McKesson, Director of Corporate Citizenship, and I've been in the world of sustainability for about 20 years. I started my career as a consultant in Washington, D.C., and my client was EPA, and started out as a consultant in hazardous waste and Superfund management. Now, if anybody has experience in both of those worlds, you'll think, oh my God. And like Amy, it was a time when regulations were really, the mainstream, but it was a downer. And it was feeling like you were being defeated at all corners that you turned. And so I was really interested in sustainability, green, recycling. Recycling was really big at the time. And I was fortunate enough to get involved with EPA's facilities management program. And the thing that I have been most interested in is sustainability and change management. And my time with EPA and the facilities group really presented me the opportunity to see what can happen with change management, see what can happen when you bring data to the table and you present the issue that you're looking for in terms of change. We were able to provide information for EPA senior management that actually presented a table that put EPA at the top of this big table that said, being number one isn't always a good thing. And EPA was the highest consumer of energy on a BTU per square foot basis, and that really got the attention of the administrator and everybody down below the administrator level. So that was really the kickoff of my career, and which led to working for the City and County of San Francisco, implementing change there in terms of green building. And now at McKesson, I'm really excited to be involved with the Corporate Citizenship Program and look at environmental sustainability, again, how we can communicate that, really tapping into our employee resources and the volunteer programs that are all, already very well established within the company. So, McKesson. A lot of people have not heard of McKesson. It's a funny thing. We're a Fortune 14 company. We're the best kept secret. We were started over 175 years ago in New York City, and we now are over $110 billion in revenue and 32,000 employees, mostly in the United States and Canada. We have some international work as well. What we do is we are the FedEx of pharmaceuticals, medical, and surgical supplies. So we deliver all of these supplies to the medical community, the hospitals, the doctor's offices, the universities, etc. So pharmaceuticals and medical surgical supplies. And then we also do the IT. So as you go to the doctor now and all of your medical records are electronic, the EMRs, electronic medical records, that's the type of work that we do. We develop the technology to make that happen. So McKesson is a very large company, significant presence. One of our biggest customers is Walmart, so we're affected by the demands of Walmart, which is a great thing for us. What I'm going to talk about today is where we stand within the company, our foundation and our corporate citizenship. And the reason I want to talk about our foundation is because that actually provides some of the incentive and the momentum behind our employees staying engaged in the company. So again, why is all of this important? As we heard from Amy and as we've heard throughout the morning, employee engagement, that's really what it's all about. And so we've heard from the top down, from the bottom up, etc. Well, if you don't have employee engagement, you're never going to get that discussion. So again, I mentioned that McKesson is a huge company with 32,000 employees. This is an example of where the facilities are across the country. Diverse facilities. We have people that are in distribution facilities that never get a chance to look at the internet because they get 10-minute breaks, and once that break is over, the bell rings and they're back on the floor. We have people in the office that are doing call center work, and so again, they have no access really to internet because they are on the clock and have to comply with their labor hours of doing the call center. So we have call centers, distribution centers, offices, IT, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so McKesson Foundation. One of the things I want to focus on here is that with McKesson, we're a healthcare services provider, so our big focus is looking at chronic disease management. We really want to elevate our employees in terms of knowledge of chronic disease management, and we want to empower them to become active in that community. We do a 3-year campaign in chronic disease management, and so what that allows us to do is to increase awareness and also increase our funding opportunities for whatever the diseases that we're focusing on, and right now it's diabetes. And so the reason that, and also the thing that's also important is our continued corporate communications, because it allows us to talk about what the disease is and get our employees involved. Corporate citizenship. These are the different programs that we focus on in corporate citizenship: volunteer programs, community days, walks, team building, service projects, and environmental sustainability. So volunteer programs, what does that look like? Well, that looks like, again, our 32,000 employees. Our volunteer programs have locations at 100 of our sites. So a third of our facilities have volunteer program coordinators at those facilities that are there to help to organize the volunteers at that location. Community Days is an annual event that McKesson does, and it's sponsored around chronic disease management. And so it's an effort to really engage our employees around the awareness and involvement in chronic disease management. So this past year we developed 32,000 care kits for juvenile diabetes that talks about 1 in 3 children will get juvenile diabetes if they continue on the current course of eating and lack of exercise. And so Community Days is something that's really important to the company, and it's a annual event. And so one of the things that we do in terms of sustainability is really try to use that venue to help educate people about waste. So we use compostable products, we use organic food, we have signage in all of our areas that tell everybody what the product is. So it's kind of like this concept. You know, don't just have organic food, but put the signs up, and don't just have waste bins that say compost. Hopefully have somebody there that is engaging the people to understand what the strategy is with the compost. The walks, the same thing. We've got, beginning of October, we've got the Diabetes Step Out Walk. We've got 6 people from our environmental council that will be participating as volunteers to walk along with everybody and talk to them about McKesson's goals in terms of environmental sustainability, as well as looking at our food process, which again is going to be organic food for about 3,000 people, and then helping everybody to understand what products go into what bin, which, believe it or not, is, even in San Francisco, still a struggle. Excuse me. So team building service projects, I sort of talked on this too. This is, again, the same thing in terms of our volunteer programs, what we're doing in terms of helping our employees create teams within the company to go out and reach out into the community. And then we try to incorporate sustainability messages within those. Environmental councils. So I showed the map of McKesson's facilities. One of our goals is to have environmental councils at each of the facilities. Reason being, as I mentioned, we have a diverse type of facility. We have a diverse type of employee population. So the people that are out in the field are the ones that really know what's going on. So we really want to have local participation, so it helps us to identify opportunities. Executive council, that's our executive managers. We have a team of about 25 people that help us to identify opportunities within McKesson, but then also to help us vet the ideas. Excuse me. So one of the things that we do in order to try to help communicate sustainability within the company and provide some consistency so we can get the data in order to communicate that back up to senior management when it comes to decision making, is we've created a focus. We call it the tree focus. So it focuses on transportation, recycling, energy, and encouraging sustainability. So each of the councils that we have, the 22 councils, all try to operate within the tree focus, so that they create projects within transportation and create projects within recycling, etc. So then there's a consistency among all of our different facilities. And then we have an opportunity in terms of our communication to say, oh, well, Alpharetta is really focusing on the recycling component, then all the other facilities are going to know what they're talking about in terms of the recycling. And it also provides us an opportunity to share best practices, again, because it's a familiar structure, and we can provide consistency. So with the environmental councils, as I mentioned, there are 22. I sort of call them our call to action team. And so I call them to action on the local initiatives, and they then can turn back to us and call us to action in terms of enterprise-wide initiatives. So focusing on the local initiatives, some of the things, as I mentioned, is diverse population, diverse operations, and so a couple of things that have happened within the local community is energy efficiency in terms of delamping, getting rid of disposable cups. That saved $10,000 at one facility. We've saved so much money on getting rid of disposable products, it's crazy. And one of the things that I want to really focus on in terms of local initiatives is how do we communicate these messages out? How do we make these happen? And a lot of it that happens on the local level is really happening at the local level. The teams are creating the communications. The teams are working with their specific people within the company, within their facility, and they're making it happen. Sort of like what we heard with Amy saying with her teams is that the folks right there are able to work with the facilities managers to make the delamping process happen, or they're able to work with their specific purchasing people to make the reduction in disposable products happen. So that's really important. The bottom bullet is kind of interesting, a local initiative that's at one of our distribution centers, and it says TARP instead of Stretch Wrap. Well, we ship out just dozens and dozens and dozens, hundreds of thousands of pallets a day. And currently they have stretch wrap that goes around it. So the process that it takes to do that is, number one, time intensive. It's a stretch wrap product, so it's a plastic product that goes into the garbage afterwards. So what has happened is that there's an evaluation team. We operate based on Six Sigma. And so there's an evaluation team that looked at that process, and they developed a reusable tarp, which also has a barcode. And so that tarp now is branded, so it says McKesson. It goes over the product on the pallet. And so no more stretch wrap. And so now this reusable tarp has saved significant amount of money, significant amount of labor, and has been reusable. It was put into place, I think, about 4 months ago, and I don't have the most recent statistics, but we're really excited to see what that is. Enterprise-wide initiatives. So as I said, the environmental councils can turn back to me to ask me for assistance as well as we have corporate initiatives that we push out to the environmental councils that we really want consistent across the whole company. One of the things that we're really focusing on this year is in the area of paper reduction. And so what we've done is we've done a big corporate-wide campaign on paper reduction, and we have created a 3-video series. We have 2 videos done, and the third will be done this winter. But the first video talks about not printing in color and printing in black and white. The second video talks about printing double-sided and multiple slides to a page. And the third video will say, please don't print. And here are the different tools that you can use that within the company that you don't have to print. So I actually would like to show you an example of the video. Because we think that this has been a really great asset in terms of our corporate communication, sustainability communication, and it was the most watched video over our CEO. Oops, hang on. Hang on, let's see here. I'll get the sound on.
Typical employees working through the average workday and doing great things for McKesson's customers. These are good people, hardworking citizens who are making a difference in healthcare. But sometimes they can make mistakes that can have grave consequences.
All right, I think we've got it. We've got pie charts, bar graphs, and all the cool graphics you guys designed for this presentation.
Wow, Randy Sprout is really up on this. I mean,
Randy's the head of CIT.
Well, I think we're ready. Let's go. It's time for our meeting.
all right, let's do this. Wow. People bring me the most elaborate color printouts and slides all the time. Seriously, all the time. What they don't realize is this costs 10 times as much to print in color as it does in black and white. And I can read the information in black and white. Their work is great. Their analysis is wonderful. But do we really need to spend all this money?
McKesson spends nearly $3.5 million every year on printer ink and paper. We go through over 450,000 reams of paper every year. That's about 30,000 trees. Printing in color is one of the biggest expenses we have here at McKesson. And a lot of times, documents don't really need to be printed in color. And because of the way ink cartridges are manufactured and consumed, we usually only use half the ink in a cartridge. And that ink really damages the environment.
You know, it may not seem like that much for a single page, but when you're a company the size of McKesson, with the amount of work that we do every day,
Hang on. Oh, no.
It could just be hung up.
I don't know what just happened.
Yeah.
We might have lost our internet connection. Is anybody more technical than me that can help me do this? I'm hitting the play button. That's about it. But I can tell you basically, oh, here we go.
those nickels add up to a lot of money.
Hello, guys.
This is the good part. I think it's just buffering. As it's buffering, I'll just tell you a little bit about what's happening with the video. As you can see, it's paper savings and ink savings is a significant savings for McKesson, and so it was as you were saying earlier, start small, pick something.
Oh, this is our presentation for the meeting with Randy. Oh, we gotta go. We're kind of running late. Hang on, let me take a look at this. Bar charts, graphs, tons of color. You know what? I cannot let you do this.
Why?
Well, first of all, there's a lot of ink here, and Randy, he doesn't even like color.
Oh, well, we already printed it, so...
Well,
So what I can say, as it's buffering, because we are getting to the good part, is that this campaign actually has been effective at McKesson, and we have seen some savings, but we probably aren't going to see our truly, transparent savings until next year, because one of the things that happens, and this is one of the things that you start finding out when you go into these great campaigns, is that our company buys paper on a standard process. So every month the administrative person buys however many reams of paper, not thinking that there might be a reduction.
I can handle this.
Paper superheroes do walk among us. They're looking out for ways to make McKesson greener and to save money in the process.
We all have to do our part.
I apologize for the technical difficulties.
These guys just needed to learn. Here's your presentation. Now you're ready for Randy. Thanks. Remember, if you need to present, do it in black and white.
Will do, thank you.
You're welcome.
Everybody loves a good presentation. If you have to print it,
I think it's because we're wireless and also sort of streaming off of a third-party website. This is an internal video, this is not an external, so it's not out to the public, and so getting it was a little bit challenging. But anyhow, so we haven't realized our true savings because procurement operates in such a way that we're not going to start seeing what the reductions are probably until a year after what the launch of this program. But we're really excited because again, this is saying don't print in color, so we've seen a reduction in toner as well as double siding. So that was the next one that we did. I didn't bring all of the videos. Okay.
presentation, printed in black and white. We don't need color. If you print it in black and white, you can save this company a ton of money and
So I think we're pretty much to the end. But basically, the Paper Superheroes has become our communications campaign. It's been our identifiable logo, if you will, although, we heard this morning, don't create another logo, but this is more of a conceptual logo to say, please participate in our program. So I think I'm just going to escape out of this, but this is pretty much the end, whereas Elise just kind of flies away in her cape. So, let me just get back to presentation. Oops. Okay. So enterprise-wide, so again, paper superheroes, working on energy efficiency. We've got a big campaign with C.B. Richard Ellis, which helps us to manage that effort. So we look to them to help us with our communication in terms of energy efficiency. And we collaborate with them with signage and looking at data so we can then use that data in terms of change management. And then also corporate travel, that's an interesting thing. With a company as big as McKesson, 32,000 people, we've partnered with Travelocity to help us to communicate green messages within our corporate travel operations. And so I'll show an example of that. And then our benefits. As you all know, open enrollment happens every fall. And you get these big stacks of paper that tell you all about your insurance programs. Well, our HR team this year has taken it upon themselves to really try to become more green. And so we've gone with green benefits, so you can opt into getting your benefits electronically. And then with procurement, the same thing. We've been working really closely with procurement to help them to create the message as well about green, and looking at the different products that we offer on our promotional site to help our employees understand what are the green products that are available. So one of our goals in terms of corporate citizenship, and for me environmental sustainability, is looking at all of the functions within the company and really integrating with all of the different functions. And so we're hearing the sustainability message in places we may not necessarily expect. So this is an example from corporate travel. These two messages when you log on for corporate travel. I logged on and did a test flight to Atlanta. Atlanta is our largest office space. And we have multiple telepresence sites. We have some here in San Francisco, Atlanta. We've got about 20 throughout the company. But the top message, please help McKesson reduce emission and travel costs by considering collaboration tools such as telepresence, now available in Alpharetta. So when you do schedule a trip to a place that has a telepresence location, that message automatically pops up. So again, we're really trying to embed the issue of sustainability throughout all the different facets of the company. And then once you do make the reservation, what does pop up also is the Atlanta Green tip. And so that just helps you, again, to remember, well, not to remember, but to be aware that there are sustainable choices in the location you're going to. This is annual enrollment goes green. You don't need to read the whole thing, but basically it's just an opportunity for people to sign up for electronic distribution of their enrollment offer. And we teamed, the corporate citizenship team, teamed with the benefits group to offer a $250 grant. We offered 10 of them. In terms of raffles. So that was one of the things that we're hoping will inspire people to sign up for their electronic distribution. And then the promotional products, not such a groovy site, but it does what it does. And so there's a Go Green section down at the bottom right below, or right above Relay Health, and that helps people to understand that there is a section for green. And then if you go on that site, this is what you get. And this particular page is talking about drinkware, and one of the things that we're promoting is the BPA free. So we're helping people to understand that. And the reason is that we were getting a lot of comments back from people about stadium cups, the plastic cups, and they're like, oh, these are plastic, how can we be giving these out? And so we went to the vendor and worked with the vendor and ensured that they were BPA free, and so now we can proudly promote that. So in terms of communication, how do we communicate sustainability throughout the company and throughout our environmental councils? As I mentioned, the environmental councils are our call to action team. We have a monthly meeting that we talk about best practices, we talk about goals within the company. The best practices are the most exciting because it allows people to understand what else is happening in other distribution centers or other call centers. And then we use SharePoint as a resource so people have access to all of the same information so they don't have to recreate the wheel. Our Atlanta facility just did a stair climb. They have a very nice stairway in the center of their facility, and it was great. The concept was save electricity for more energy. So it was save electricity by not using the elevator to get more energy as you climb the stairs. They created all the graphics, and now we've got 4 other locations that are doing the same thing, using all those graphics, all those posters, and we're going to be promoting that, and we're having a whole week dedicated towards Climb the Stair program. And then corporate communication, we have a weekly Today at McKesson, which highlights all different topics, but we actually have a really good relationship with Today at McKesson, and they have a whole year mapped out for us in terms of what they're going to help us to communicate, which is great. And again, on our intranet site, we have access into our revolving ad bars, which have really been helpful because they're clickable and they can get right to the corporate citizenship page, so people can learn more. As I mentioned, some of the facilities, people don't have access to computer, nor do they get a lot of interaction with people. And so there's big plasma screens, and so what we do is we push information out to those plasma screens to try to educate people, as well as flyers. And all of the flyers and communications really have to be directed toward the group that we're trying to reach. So the distribution centers, the local facilities tend to do those graphics because they know what's important to those people. And then social media, Facebook and Twitter. We just got a LEED certification on one of our facilities in South San Francisco, and we tweeted that. We're going to tweet about, there's a drug take-back program that's happening this weekend through the Department of Drug Enforcement, or I guess Drug Enforcement Agency. So they're doing a federal drug take-back program, which if any of you are in the pharmaceutical world, you'll know that that's a very, very difficult task to undertake. So we're tweeting about that because we really want people to get pharmaceuticals out of the market if they're not using it. So again, looking at communications, looking at our map and all of our locations, and if we can get into 2/3 of our location, if we can get 200 environmental councils, the amount that we'll be able to change within the company will be fantastic. But one of the things that is helping me to drive that decision and make that happen is gathering the data. Because environmental sustainability isn't one of the high priorities within the company. We're a distributor of drugs and medical supplies, and so we're really trying to gather data from the efforts that are happening at all of our environmental councils and throughout the company, so we can help make the business case. Corporate reporting, we heard a little bit about this. We do the corporate reporting, corporate citizenship report, and the carbon disclosure report, and it's an interesting process and something that I'm new to and in the midst of right now. So if anybody's got any ideas, please let me know. And then my contact information. Any questions? Yes.
This is sort of a pedestrian question.
Sure.
You showed the map with locations.
Yes.
What are the blue states versus the?
I should know that, and I don't.
Oh, sorry for asking.
No, you know what, I'll find that out because this map is actually from our public affairs team. And they use this with elected officials because they want to show where our facilities are in order to help drive support. But that's a good question.
You mentioned that you save tons of money by taking away disposable products.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, because that's something we struggle with. I mean, we spend tons of money on disposable. And that's a benefit that employees have had for decades. And when you try to take something away, you're removing a benefit. So I'm wondering, what did you replace it with, if anything, and what was the cost associated with that? Because I saw the cost savings of taking it away, but I assume there was some alternate cost there.
It's a great question. So I've been with the company for about 5.5 months, and when I arrived, I was presented a mug and a plastic statement cup, all branded with McKesson. They're all shiny and new, and I was given a marker that says, "Put your name on it. This is yours." And I thought, really, this is mine. So there's not like a cabinet full of mugs and everybody shares, and it's not this big community thing. They're like, nope, 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 this is yours. So I don't know the cost of supplying every employee that mug, but this has actually become one of my pet projects. This particular process has eliminated the disposable cups. However, it creates a very individualistic environment. It's my cup, it has my name on it, nobody else can use it. When anybody has a meeting, there are no cups available for anybody because there's no disposable cups. So the process, I think, somebody tried to do it to eliminate cost and eliminate waste, but didn't think through the whole process. So now we're working to try to get dishwashers incorporated in the facility, which is a huge challenge, but if we get dishwashers installed, then we can actually wash the cups. They don't have to have everybody's names on them. They can have a big cabinet full of them, and we can get rid of disposable plates and get rid of disposable cutlery and save those costs. Yes, there is a replacement cost of getting durables and then a dishwasher cost, etc. But in the long run, it creates a savings. And I don't know the exact savings. But I can tell you that each facility is saving anywhere from $3,000 to, I think, $14,000 a year in terms of disposable products. We have a facility that's still buying styrofoam. That's another one that gets me.
Okay, maybe we'll take one last question.
Hi, first of all, congratulations. I know it's a new position, fairly new. And you mentioned that environmental sustainability isn't necessarily one of the top corporate priorities, and of course that's a major challenge for those of us in these positions. I'm wondering, what did they communicate to you about the corporate commitment when you were hired? That's kind of part A of the question. And then also, where do you want to take this? And specifically, I'm wondering about if you're looking at influencing the industry and looking at supply chain beyond just McKesson's own internal operations.
Great question. So in terms of my employment, basically I was told, which is true, that there is a commitment from senior level in terms of environmental councils. And so one of my personal performance objectives is to increase the number of environmental councils throughout the company. Because I think that they realize when they start seeing the savings, getting rid of disposable products and saving tens and twenties and thousands of dollars, that is recognized. Where I want to take it from here is developing goals and objectives and policies, because those aren't in place. And so in order to do that, we have to have data. So we don't have a full set of data right now to manage our facility information. And so without that, you can't make a compelling business case. When you say, and this isn't our numbers, but when you say, well, gosh, we've got great energy data from 20 facilities and we need to reduce by 50%. They're like, great, 20 facilities, well, we've got 300. Where do you go from there? So my goal is to develop a baseline in terms of environmental sustainability, looking at energy, water, waste, and transportation, corporate transportation, and developing policies, really getting reduction goals established and bought into by the company. But we're not going to get that until we have baseline information and we have priorities within the company as to what we're going to accomplish. And I think it gets back to what you were saying, is that you need to start small so that you can have some successes and people can start feeling comfortable about it. Are we looking to change the industry? Not really. My goal is McKesson, and then looking at our suppliers and helping our suppliers also to understand what our goals are and help them to get to where we would like them to be as well. So sort of like what Walmart is doing for all of its suppliers.
Okay, let's hear it for one.